Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Overview of the 2023 Materials Benchmark. Today's presentation will be recorded and will be posted on the Hub. In addition, an email will be sent to all registered participants with links to the recordings and presentation. There are several joining us today, and to make sure we capture all the questions, we encourage you to type your questions into the question box on the webinar doc. Now on to Prina. Prina?
Thanks, Rose. Hello, everyone. A very good evening from Bangalore, India. Thank you for joining us today. I see a few familiar names and a few new ones. It's really exciting to see as I allow participants or audience to join this session today. I'm going to quickly introduce myself. I'm Prerna Pandey from the Materials Benchmark team at Textile Exchange, and it's a pleasure to take you through the overview of the Materials Benchmark today. This session is dedicated to all current participants and prospect companies who are interested to learn and join the Materials Benchmark in 2023, which is going live on April 18th. We aim to provide a basic overview of everything that you need to know as a new or returning participant. We have different sections that we will cover as a team today, and there will be opportunity for you to ask questions during a dedicated Q&A round towards the end of the session. In the meantime, if you have any burning questions, feel free to use the Q&A box. So today we will begin with an introduction to the Materials Benchmark, then show a glimpse of an overview of the 2022 results that are out this week. Then we will move on to the latest and the greatest updates in 2023. What does it mean in terms of the benchmarking journey for participants? Why take part? How to get started? And then we'll get on to the dedicated Q&A session and call to action. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my wonderful team. They're here with us today, and you will hear from many of us soon. I also want to take this opportunity to share that we are a team with a brand new name and are now called the Materials Benchmark team. We were previously called the Corporate Fiber and Materials Benchmark Program, but now we are done away with long acronyms and hopefully have a simpler and a straightforward name to remember and call ourselves the Materials Benchmark team. Our team is led by our senior manager, Haley Warren. And today we have my colleagues, Chiara Ferrero, Jessica Garcia, and Maria join us, who will also be presenting the various sections of the webinar and will be actively monitoring the Q&A today. In the next slide, I want to cover what the basics of the Materials Benchmark is, what it really is. The Materials Benchmark is a peer-to-peer comparative tracking of fiber and raw materials sourced by companies in the fashion, textile, and apparel industry. It was developed by Textile Exchange to enable participating companies to track and measure the uptake and impact of fiber and raw materials, report on strategic approach for fiber and raw materials against an industry-recognized framework, and to support the industry in reaching the Climate Plus target of 45% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions coming from fiber and raw material production by 2030. The benchmark program is expanding to support more consolidation in the industry and deepening its role in tracking progress towards goal for climate and nature. It is worthy to note that the Materials Benchmark is the largest peer-to-peer comparison initiative in the textile industry. It tracks the apparel, footwear, home textile, and multi-sectors progress towards more sustainable material sourcing, as well as it has alignment with global efforts like Global Biodiversity Framework, the transition to circular economy, and more. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in next few slides. Moving forward, before diving into details today, it is great time to pause and remind ourselves the benefits of benchmarking. We are a proud ally of the World Benchmarking Alliance and have adapted their benefits of benchmarking in our vision and framework. Benchmark does a number of things. It helps clarify what societies expect from industries and companies. It clarifies where and how companies can contribute to sustainability. It promotes a race to the top, helps track progress, and finally, promotes dialogue and is a proven and effective engagement tool, as our benchmark is. In the next slide, I want to take you through the evolution of the benchmark and how we came about to be what we are at the moment. The materials benchmark was piloted with 57 brands and retailers in 2015. It went through a phase of establishment as a program for the industry from 2016 to 2018, with rigorous rounds of development and stakeholder consultation. In 2019, the Material Change Index, or the MCI, was launched. The MCI is a public listing of participating brands and retailers showcasing their overall performance banding. In 2020, the biodiversity benchmark beta version was launched with an increased focus and a pivot to climate and nature. The benchmark's scope opened up and we invited pilot participants for suppliers and manufacturers in 2020 as well. Last year, in 2022, was a critical one as an extensive stakeholder consultation resulted in wider industry alignment, streamlining, and updates to the survey framework. This was the year when biodiversity benchmark was integrated as a module in the fuller benchmark survey to streamline reporting and reduce duplication for companies. In 2022, we also marked the third and the final year for suppliers and manufacturers pilot. And we also became the reporting partner for the Fashion Pact signatories to report on their targets and progress for 3 pillars: climate, biodiversity, and oceans. And finally, in 2023, we are soon to launch our revised benchmark survey in April, which is streamlined, industry aligned, and rebranded. And when we say that, the materials benchmark in 2023 has started alignment with Sustainable Apparel Coalition, or the SAC's brand and retailer module. We have started with alignment on 20 questions in materials benchmark survey this year and are working very closely on continued and increased alignment through this partnership. 2023 is also the year when suppliers and manufacturers survey is moving out of its pilot phase to establish itself in 2023 with increased participation and with full scoring methodology applied to the suppliers survey. Internally, we are also aligning with Textile Exchange Maturation Model Acceleration Framework, and more is to come on this later in the year. I also want to mention that the materials benchmark is also the reporting platform for our challenges, such as the Sustainable Cotton Challenge and the Recycled Polyester Challenge by Textile Exchange. In the next slide. I think this is a quick one, and this is just to show sort of the numerical progress that we have made. The program, as you can see, has grown in participation and scope in the last 8 years, and we are now at 400 plus brands and retailers, suppliers, and manufacturers who see value in benchmarking. We are thrilled to see industries growing trust and confidence in benchmarking, and are here to support your tracking and progress of impacts. With this, I would like to pass it over to my colleague, Maria, to share overview of the 2022 results coming out soon.
Thank you, Prerna. So I welcome also everyone. And as Prerna mentioned, in 2022, we saw more than 400 companies come together to collectively track their efforts. This means that we continue to be the largest peer-to-peer comparison initiative in the industry. And what we see here is a snapshot from the benchmarking community, which is included in the MCI Insights report that will come out in April. So the MCI Insights report uses data from Textile Exchange Material Benchmark to map out progress toward more sustainable sourcing at the raw material level of the fashion textile supply chain. What we see here is data related to the participants' profile in 2022, where 71% of the participants were Textile Exchange members and 72% were returning companies. This means that they had completed the survey before in previous years, but we also had 47 new participants in 2022. For us to understand the impact of these companies, we have calculated that 3.9 million employees are working for them, and their total estimated turnover is more than $1 trillion. So we can see in the graphs that the majority of participants, around 68%, are like large size companies, and this is defined as having 20 250 employees or more. However, medium, small, and also micro-sized companies participated in the benchmark. So we can also see that more than half of these companies have their headquarters in Europe and 32% is based in North America. The companies located in Oceania, Asia, Latin America, and Africa completed the MCI survey in 2022. 64% of participants belong to the apparel and footwear subsector, 15% to outdoor and sports, and 14% are multi-sector companies, and 7% are home and hospitality companies. So basically the insight report, along with the confidential scorecards, the material change index, and the material impacts dashboard are result products, and they are designed to take the user through the journey of material change. The material change index and the material impact dashboard were launched yesterday, and you can find them on our website, and I will explain more later in this webinar of what they are. So by seeing a snapshot of the data and the insights report and high-level results, I will pass it over to Chiara, who will explain more of the 2023 updates.
Thank you so much, Maria. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Italy. I'm Chiara, and I'm really happy to be here today to share the great work that the team has done in the last 12 months, to update the 2023 materials benchmark. So as I was saying, and as the slide is showing, we are focusing on some key updates for 2023. This update starts with the updated performance bandings. So in partnership with internal teams and with key stakeholders, we have updated the scoring methodology. The scoring methodology was last updated in 2019, and with the changes to the framework, it was a good time to revisit and revamp the scoring to make sure it was fully aligned with the organizational Climate Plus targets. So just to say that we are keeping the current banding, so level 1, developing, level 2, establishing, level 3, scaling, and level 4, leading. But the criteria that sit behind them has been modified. Some of the key changes for this year, and then we will soon share more updates in the publication of the scoring methodology, is the removal of absolute uptake volumes, the alignment with Climate Plus goals, the alignment with the preferred fiber material matrix, or the PFMM scoring, and the fact that not the questions are scored. Only key question will be scored and will be indicated clearly in the data reporting platform and in the guides that will be published very soon. So we aim to keep this scoring fixed for the next 3 years so that we can allow the trend analysis and year-on-year comparison, because that's a key part of the benchmarking activity. The second key update is the new material benchmark framework. The team has worked, as I was saying before, in the last year to streamline and reduce to streamline the survey, to streamline the framework and reduce the ask for participants. We enhance the collaboration and alignment with organizations such as the Sustainable Apparel Coalition, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and climate and nature experts to be sure to propose an up-to-date and valid reporting framework to the industry. And I will be sharing more on detail about this news framework. The third update, it's really related to suppliers, manufacturers, cohort, and group, because as Trina already mentioned, suppliers, manufacturer ended the pilot phase at the end of 2022. So we are now entering a new phase with 2023-2025 cycle. And that means that in this year, we carried out supplier consultation with participants, previous participants, and other partners. Just to name a few, Process Factory, Lian Fang, and the Singapore Fashion Council. that provided a lot of feedback, comments to see if the survey and the framework was aligned and beneficial for suppliers and manufacturers. We have tailored the questions to make sure that these are relevant for suppliers and manufacturers. Not applicable questions have been removed or given the possibility to select not applicable if it's if it was true for suppliers and manufacturers. The materials benchmark scoring methodology that I just mentioned in the beginning of this slide would be applied to suppliers and manufacturers as well. And there's going to be the possibility to report the volume of fabrics in meters with the automatic conversion in metric tons. So that it's going to be like the key updates for suppliers and manufacturers. Regarding what suppliers and manufacturers are getting out of the survey, definitely the scored confidential scorecard. And we're also working toward integrating aggregated data to model outcomes and impact associated with preferred material sourcing for suppliers and manufacturers' responses. The fourth key update is, again, the enhanced partnership and alignment. As I was saying before, we have been fortunate to continue working with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation on the circular economy module and section, and they've been a key advisor to ensure these questions were updated. Another key partnership, as Prerna mentioned in the beginning, was the Sustainable Apparel Coalition. We first started to work on the alignment last year, and timing for an alignment between the materials benchmark and the BRMs, the brand and retail module, in 2023 made sense because both surveys and questions were being revised. We also identified 7 companies that reported in both tools. So that was the key motivation for us to work together to align as many questions as possible, as well as language and terminology. Given that the fact that the 2 scopes are different and they will remain different, but we want to align as much as possible. Progress made in both programs, we were saying, were done related to the definition of preferred, how to calculate uptake volumes, and classification. Moving forward in 2024, we are looking to see how we can align further and look of data sharing capabilities for the future. And finally, the last key update for 2023 is the updated reporting cycle. With the submission opening earlier in the year, on the 18th of April, we aim to reduce the gap between the data reported and the results generated. And we will go over this in detail in the benchmark journey. To the next slide, please. As I was saying before, this is the new materials benchmark framework. For those who knew the older version, there are still 3 sections. So section 1, which includes business integration and circular economy. Section 2, the materials portfolio, and section 3, the impact areas. It's important to say that because we want to provide a flexible survey and we would like to welcome as many companies as possible into the materials benchmark, the only mandatory section is the materials portfolio, which is also what we consider the core of the program. All the other sections are optional and can be completed, of course. We always suggest to complete as many sections as possible, but that depends on time of the company, availability, interest, and progress. Just to go a little bit more in detail on the framework. So section 1, business integration, these are all questions related about the company's fiber and raw material sustainability strategy and activities, and how these are integrated in the core of the business, in the business model and the company overall. And this data help us understand if participants have started to strategically work on their fibers and raw material sustainability and how they're integrating overall on a corporate level. there are also questions regarding how you're engaging with stakeholders, how you're managing governance around this topic, how you're investing in more sustainable technologies, innovations, fibers, and raw materials, and how you're reporting progress. To note, we have streamlined the questions, as we were saying before. Last year, there were around 50 data points, and now there are only 23 questions in the business integration section. Another part of section 1 is circular economy, and that's really a key, again, part of the survey, because every company is looking how to implement a more circular approach, going away from a linear economy and implementing more circular projects. So this section is really going into detail. What are these projects? What are these activities? What are these targets that companies are implementing? And it's really understanding the company's transition toward a circular economy approach and how companies are implementing strategy to decouple economic activity. Again, here we reduced the number of questions to 14. So we think we tried at least to streamline as much as possible the survey. Section 2 is our materials portfolio, and it's here to collect participant uptake data across all materials. We have updated and removed the materials modules for those who participated in the previous year. So all the information for your fibers and raw materials are now in section 2. As with previous year, to complete this section, participants need to prepare their company's uptake data for the materials portfolio for the reporting period. That means that for 2023, the reporting period will be 2022. The data in section 2 remains important to track and record the use, so the volume of fibers and raw materials. And by asking for the targets, we can assess the ambition to scale the adoption of non-conventional fibers and raw materials and to track industry progress. In the final section, section 3, this is the section that has seen most changes in 2023. The aim of this section is to capture the participant progress, targets, monitoring, and reporting for climate and nature-related activities. In line with our Climate Plus goals and strategy, we have developed questions on key impact areas that are climate, biodiversity, fresh water, oceans, land use, and soil health. The incorporation of Climate Plus impact areas into this framework is a step up on the previous focus, just on the adoption of preferred materials to one more associated impacts. And time was taken to ensure we were aligned in terminology on SBTNs. To the next slide, please. I will now hand it to Prina, who is engaging us with an interesting Zoom polls.
Thank you, Chiara. That was amazing. Rose has just launched a Zoom poll. We were interested to know that which of the, out of all the key updates shared for 2023, which one, according to you, was the most necessary and the awaited one? The options are new materials benchmark framework, streamlined and sleek, the updated reporting cycle, which has reduced the data reporting gap and data, result generated, as Chiara explained before. Is it the suppliers and manufacturers survey moving out of pilot to expansion and establishment, or the enhanced partnership and alignment with important industry and reporting partners? Or is it the updated performance bandings to future-proof the benchmark with evolving sustainability practices and scenarios? We thought it would be interesting to see, as we have a few familiar names and a few people who have been practitioners to the benchmark since several years. Let's see how the results come about. All right. Okay, super interesting. So as you can see on your screen, 34% of audience have said they're really excited about the sleek and streamlined materials benchmark framework, which is great. 24% are excited about the partnership and alignment piece. 17% about the updated reporting cycle. That's good to know. 14% updated performance banding to future-proof the benchmark with evolving sustainability practices and scenarios, and 10 say suppliers and manufacturers moving out of pilot. That's great. Thank you so much. We have another poll that Rose will launch now. This is very similar, but just to understand that out of the key updates, which one do you think needs more elaboration and support? And we aim to cover this in our upcoming workshop in the 4th week of March, where we will dive deeper into the specifics of the 2023 materials benchmark survey before it goes live, just so everybody is prepared and has the opportunity to look into the updates more deeply and also obviously ask questions. Is it the new materials benchmark framework that you want to look into more closely in the next sessions, or is it the updated reporting cycle? But I also think that Chiara is going to elaborate a little more on that later today. Is it the suppliers and manufacturers survey moving out of pilot, and how does it look in its establishment phase that you're more interested to know about, or the enhanced partnership and alignment? Or is it the updated performance bandings that you would like to hear more from us in the upcoming workshops in the 4th week of March? This will help us tweak the session accordingly and provide the necessary support that you need. Let's see the results. All right. So, okay, that's really interesting to know. 41% of the audience want to know a little more about the updated performance banding. That's great. We are doing a stakeholder consultation on that in the coming weeks, and should be able to share, the high-level follow-up points from that. 26% have said they want to know about the enhanced partnership and alignment. Good to know. And the new materials framework, 22% of the people would like to like a little more elaborate explanation. And 11% on suppliers and manufacturers survey. Great. I think this is really good team, right? To know how we want to tweak our upcoming workshops. This is really helpful. Thank you. Passing it back to you, Chiara.
Yeah, thank you, Prerna. Thank you for the great participation. Yeah, it's interesting to know that you want to know more on the scoring methodology, and we will definitely be able to share more in the upcoming weeks. So as I was saying, can you just go back to the Jessie, to the previous slide? Yeah, thank you so much. So now we were looking at the benchmarking journey, and we will covering 3 main points. So who is eligible and can participate in the materials benchmark? What's the timeline? So when are we starting? What are the following months look like for those companies who decide to join the materials benchmark? And definitely at the end, we will covering the onboarding resources. So once understand the who and the when, we will cover a little bit the what you can do to prepare, and what kind of documents we are developing for you to guide you more in this benchmarking journey. To the next slide, please. Perfectly. So who can participate? First of all, the materials benchmark is open to the apparel and textile industry. And as you probably know, there are 2 main programs. One from brands and retailers. And we recommend to take part if you source fibers and raw materials and can report the uptake volume for at least your priority material or materials. And Prerna will go a little bit more in detail on that. What priority materials are. Suppliers and manufacturers is the second group, and we recommend to take part if you source fibers and raw materials, so at the different levels, garments, fabric, yarns, or fibers, and can report the uptake volume again for at least your priority material or materials. And if you're not sure if you're eligible to participate, or you are not sure you are able to report your uptake volume, just consult the benchmark team. We are really here to support you and understand if 2023 is the year for you to start reporting to the materials benchmark. And again, as Prina already mentioned, the benchmark will continue to be the reporting tool for the organizational challenges. So the recycled polyester and the sustainable cotton. To the next slide, please. So this is really like how the year looks like in the benchmarking journey. So the cycle now will start in the beginning of the year and close at the end. Again, this is very important for us because we are reducing, or we are eliminating the gap that there is between when you're submitting the data and when we are giving you the results of the benchmark. So in January and March, we carried out, or we're still carrying out, the outreach, try to expand the number of participants, and we are starting onboarding them. And this workshop this webinar is one example, with the aim to grow the benchmark community. The new survey then will be open on 18th of April. The data collection phase will be open for 11 weeks. And we will close the submission phase on the 30th of June, so really end of June. Between July and September, the team will take some time to review the data and the information given through the survey of the materials benchmark. And if needed, we will ask participants to review the feedbacks and provide comments. Between October and December, in the last quarter of the year, we will launch the results. So both the confidential one, like the confidential scorecard, and the public results, like the material change index and the impact dashboard. So we appreciate this is a change from last year. So if you think this new timeline will cause any problem, issue in the reporting activity, please contact the team to see how we can support you and facilitate the reporting. To the next slide, please. As I was saying, the last point that I will be covering is the onboarding resources. As mentioned already, our aim for this year is to really support companies as much as possible throughout the year, and be sure they have all the resources needed to complete the materials benchmark. This is a clear overview of all the resources that we are providing or that we'll be soon launching. The first to get started, so the second step, as you can see, is a new fact sheet that we provided this year, and provide the what, the why, the who, the when, and the how of the program. And it's an high-level overview for those companies who are new to the materials benchmark and want to collect basic information to share maybe internally in the company with new colleagues that don't know the materials benchmark. So this is, we think it's a great tool to start understanding and knowing the program. And then, of course, there are our webinars and workshops. So this week we had our first round of intro webinars. And there will be 2 follow-up deep dive workshops that will take place on the week of the 27th of March. And there will be longer workshop. We want to have them more interactive, and we really want to show you more in detail about the program. Other 2 key elements that we are working on are the guides. So we really are focusing on providing you guides, written guides, a lower number. So we were trying to streamline those as well. But they really make you understand what the question is asking, what kind of evidence you need, are these questions scored or not scored, why are we asking this data? So try to give you an overview on all of the questions. And you will also be get the idea if these questions or terminology or language is aligned with other organizations or initiatives, like the BRM, for example. The other really key tool for us, and also as an engagement tool, is the drop-in clinics. So this year we will continue to run our popular weekly drop-in clinics every Thursday. And this will start on March the 30th and run until June 29. And the aim is to provide any additional support that we can provide to you to complete the materials benchmark. And this year we are proposing a new, slightly different format because the drop-in clinics will be themed. So we will be focusing on different topics throughout the month. And we will present some key facts, hints, tips in the first 10 minutes. And then, of course, leave the floor open for informal discussions and questions. And I want to highlight that these are informal sessions. So you are not expected to stay for the full hour, but you can ask your question and drop off. Other, of course, some of the onboarding resources, are already online. Some will be published very soon. And I'm now handing over to Maria, who is going to present why to take part.
Thank you, Chiara. So let's see why companies should take part in the materials benchmark. But before I go there, I'm going to quote Larea Pepper, who is our catalyst and co-founder at Textile Exchange, and said, "You cannot know where you are going if you don't know where you are. But how can we help you understand where you are?" So if you complete the materials benchmark, you will receive a confidential scorecard, and this will help you understand the impact of your fiber and raw material choices. You'll be able to compare your performance against the largest voluntary peer-to-peer benchmark in the fashion and textile industry. You can use the benchmark to guide improvements and help you build a fiber strategy if you don't have one in place already. You're able to demonstrate commitment to transparency and continuous improvement around your material sourcing strategy. You're also able to meet reporting requirements set by key stakeholders like your investors or your customers. And you're also able to engage with others in the community, learn from the best practices, and collaborate to actually create material change. So these are only a few reasons of why you should participate in the materials benchmark. And we can now see what you actually receive after participating. So if we move to the next slide and we can see the results. Yes, thank you. So you receive a confidential scorecard, and you are able to participate in the materials change index as well as in the materials impact dashboard. So already, if you have completed the 2022 survey, you will be able to find your confidential scorecard in your survey. And if you go on your our website, you will be able to see the material change index and the material impact dashboard. So confidential scorecards are actually customized scorecards, and they provide participants with an analysis of their results, including an annual comparison against their scores from previous years. Textile Exchange members receive an advanced scorecard as part of the membership, while non-members receive a standard scorecard or a modified standard scorecard, depending on their choices. The Material Change Index is actually a public listing that celebrates all the companies that took place in the benchmark and is delivering transparency by sharing participants' performance banding with the world. It provides an indicator of progress, and it also helps companies identify their strengths and gaps, encourages them on a year-to-year improvement and a race to the top. So what is the Materials Impact Dashboard? It provides an opportunity for interested stakeholders to observe the progress made by the entire group of benchmarking companies across different impact areas, from preferred fibers to uptake to climate action. This means that it models out the outcomes and the impacts associated with preferred material sourcing, and it's also a key tool to track industry progress towards Textile Exchange Climate Plus goal of a 45% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions over the next decade. So now that we saw of some reasons of why you should take part and what do you receive, I'll pass it over to Prerna. And Prerna, you can show us how we can get started. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. That's great. Hi, everyone. I'm back. I guess with the real question that where do companies get started with benchmarking? It does seem like we have shared quite a lot of information today, but we will also cover how can you prepare or get started. Before I take you through these steps on the screen, I just wanted to say that the starting point can be exactly where you are right now, especially if 2023 is going to be your first year of benchmarking. You may or may not have all the data in hand, all the answers with you, or even a dedicated resource person in your team. But trust us when we say that you're not alone. We've heard this from almost every company when they were taking their first step in benchmarking. And I'm sure the returning companies or the experienced practitioners with us here today would agree to that. For this reason, and the fact that one size does not fit all, we have built the survey for it to be flexible. You can begin with one fiber, one module in the first year and see how it goes, how the benchmark exercises helped you along the way, and then increase your number of modules or fibers every year as you experience it. And we are obviously here to help you through that journey, as Chiara took you through the onboarding resources and the support that's available. We also hear a lot that the simple exercise of going through the questions and the answer options in the benchmark survey provides companies a sense check and the direction as to where to go. With that, I would just take you through these steps on how you can get started. We suggest when companies are beginning the benchmark exercise, they determine their priority fibers and raw materials, what's conventional and non-conventional in each category, or the category that you choose to report in that particular year. And then develop an internal task team, which helps somebody being responsible for the data for the benchmark, or at least is the contact person who can reach out to us, for any sort of support that's needed. It'd be also helpful if you can check prior, if you can report on your priority fiber and raw materials in terms of the uptake volumes from the previous year, as Chiara mentioned, it being the mandatory requirement. If you have questions around your accuracy, the calculations, or any other concerns, we've developed a fiber calculation guide to help you in each step of the way. And if you still have further questions, just reach out to us for support and we are here to help you. Once you have seen the survey questions that's going live on April 18th, select the sections you would like to complete. Don't feel pressured to complete all the sections or all the modules. Remember what the mandatory part is, which is actually just the section 2. And depending on your priority fibers or materials that you choose, over and above, we do welcome you to complete it, but it's up to you and your team how you want to go about it. And the last recommendation is, we recommend you set internal timelines to be sure to complete the benchmark exercise within the given time frame. Just to remind, the survey will go live on April 18th, and the submission window will be open until June 30th, which is about 11 weeks to complete the survey, which should be more than required for companies to complete it. But in case, we do appreciate that this is a new timeline and could be a little bit for a few companies, especially returning, to adjust to it. In case you have any concerns, or if it is your first year and you think you need more support, just reach out to us and we can help you find the best solution. Our onboarding checklist, which Chiara mentioned before, shares more details of each of these steps on the screen. And this is available for Textile Exchange members as a benefit of membership. With that, moving on to call to action, before I pass it to the floor for question and answers. How do you get started? Like, what's the call to action? If you feel that you're ready or at least interested to know confirm your participation in 2023 by emailing to us. The new registration link is going to go out live soon in the last week of March, and we'll get back to you once we receive a confirmation email from you. We encourage you to join the Getting Started workshops in the last week of March. We have the link to our support schedule and have arranged sessions to accommodate different time zones across the world. And we really hope to host you. It is also recommended for you to be a part of the Hub community. We have a special one for materials benchmark. This will be your best way to stay most updated with benchmark related announcements, events, resources, and also the peer-to-peer learning that my colleagues mentioned before. Once again, we have guidance and onboarding support for all participants, new or returning, and we can't wait for you to avail those and make use of our guidance materials. For any further support, feel free to contact us at benchmark@textileexchange.org, and we are here for you. Thank you. With that, I open the floor for questions, inviting you to type yours in the Q&A. I already see there are some very interesting ones in the Q&A box, and handing over to you, Chiara and Jesse, for the Q&A round. Thank you.
Thank you, Brina. Thank you very much. Yeah, we have some interesting question. I will start with, we are a factory producing recycled polyester staple fiber in Vietnam with feedstock of PET bottle and post-industry garment, PET waste, medium size. Are we eligible for participating? Yes, from the description that you gave to us here very quickly, I would say yes. And I would suggest you to reach out at benchmark@textileexchange.org. So maybe you can explain a little bit better your production, your scope, and maybe we can also schedule a quick call to confirm your eligibility, I would say. But from what you're saying, yes. Okay. The update fiber impact calculator will be available when? So with the fiber impact calculator, I don't know if you mean the fiber uptake calculator, because that's a yes for that, for the fiber and raw materials uptake calculator. We are working on the update of that tool because we need to include more fibers and raw materials in the scope of the calculator as well. So it would be launched before the start of the survey, but yeah, we will need some more time to provide the update version. Okay. Angela is asking, we are a brand retailer and manufacturer. Is there a single path for both, or do you recommend participating in one path over the other? Again, here I would suggest to bring this conversation in one-to-one call with one of my colleagues, because I guess that we want to understand better how your company is structured, if your volumes are related more to like selling as finished garments like a branded retailer or more as a manufacturer. Also, what's the relevance of being a branded retailer or a manufacturer? So I would say please get back to us by email, and we can continue this conversation, because we would need more information to understand which one to suggest to you. Okay. Can you please repeat what you said about removal of the absolute uptake volume? Is it removed from scoring? Jesse, do you want to get this one?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Chiara. And thank you everybody for the great questions. So yes, that's what we said. We are going to remove the absolute volumes and we are going to use the relative ones. So that's in alignment with slow growth, or maybe you have heard about degrowth. Right now, as Prina mentioned before, we are doing the stakeholder consultation these 2 weeks, upcoming weeks. We will be sharing more with all of you. But what's not going to change are the bundles. So we're still going to have these four bundles. But for sure, please expect those outcomes from the stakeholder consultation. And yes, we are removing the absolute volumes and using the relative ones. Yeah, hope it's clear.
Thank you, Jessie. And don't run away because I have another question for you. Is there a plan or expectation that aligning with BRM will mean that one day in the future, only one survey will need to be taken?
Again, good question. That would be ideal. Yeah, that would be ideal. I think that everybody would like to have only one survey, you know, to fill out, less work. But I think it's going to be complicated to align the whole survey because the scope is different. No, our scope is tier 4, and the scope of the BRM from the Sustainable Apparel Coalition is the whole supply chain. So for sure, the plan is to align more and more questions as much as we can. But the whole survey, that will mean a change of scope. So for the moment, it's not going to be the case. Yeah. The next plan that also was mentioned before for 2024 is, of course, more alignment, but also data sharing. So that's coming up. Thank you.
Right. I'm seeing another one. What Prina is taking care of another one I'm seeing. So for footwear brands, should we be reporting other non-fiber priority materials like midsole, EVA, foam? So what we can tell you is that we are expanding the category of fibers or raw material that are included in 2023. We are definitely have new fibers and materials respect to 2022, but there are still some categories that will need to be reported under on other non-fibers, so other materials. And looking at this, I would say yes, Nicole. That's a yes for me. But maybe we can have a better look to understand where this could be reported into. But for me, it's on other non-materials. Other priority materials, sorry.
Yeah, and maybe just to add that, because now I realize that's something that we haven't shared during the webinar, is that as you might all know, but all the returnees, you might know that we have until now 7 fibers and raw materials plus other. Another update this year is that we're going to have 15 plus other. So we are also including more fibers and raw materials. So I think that was an important update also.
Perfect. As the supplier survey pilot phase is finished, will there be a link between supplier info and brand retailer information? For example, carbon footprint calculated based on the specific supplier of the raw material. It's a great question. Thank you so much for raising this. And who knows, it can be something that we are looking at for the future. But it's not something realistic for this year, for sure. Of course, we are looking how we can close the gap between brands, retailers, and their supply chain, and how there can be a link in sharing information, in sharing data, in sharing impact information as well. But it is something that it's more for the future, and something, of course, that it's not for 2023, I would say. I don't see other question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if someone else wants to ask anything else to us. Otherwise, you also have our email. I saw that Prina has shared with you, so feel free to reach out to us to benchmark@textileexchange.org.
Yeah, and as we were saying, we will share more on the new scoring methodology, the details of all of it in the next coming weeks. We're working on stakeholder consultation, yeah, so it's going to be out soon also for your feedback and comments. Yeah,
Kiara,
So
there's one question unanswered. It asks, what are relative volumes?
yeah, so a company relative uptake is based on the share of preferred material uptake relative to conventional. So that's the definition of relative uptake. But again, more to share in the scoring methodology, new scoring methodology, because we will also explain how this is applicable to the materials benchmark and uptake data.
Yep.
Very interesting questions.
Yeah, very
we had.
interesting questions. Thank you so much for sharing those. And I don't know if any of the team has anything to add. Otherwise, we can close the session. It was a very interesting session. And we hope we provided you some overview, some insights, some updates of the 2023 materials benchmark. And yeah, very hopefully you will join us in this year benchmark and reporting activities. So we're very happy to hear from you very soon. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers and thank you for participating. And as a friendly reminder, this will be placed on the hub for you to view the links to the presentation. That concludes today's webinar. Goodbye.